Hello again and welcome to another edition of the People's Lawyer channel. Now today we're sending out an appeal and a common sense warning really to parents, and I use that term loosely because as we know now from other videos, parents has a legal definition behind it. But it's just easier for me to say parents than keep saying mums and dads and caregivers. And this warning is all about what has happened recently and how we can remedy it. So today I'm wearing my People's Educator hat rather than the People's Lawyer hat. And the first question I'm going to ask is, were you obliged to send your boys or girls to school, or even are you obliged to send your boys and girls to school in the light of not just what's happening now and in the last few years, but what's been happening for a long time, which I cover in more depth, both in other videos. Combating School Tyranny is the name of the series of videos, and in my book, School No Place for Children. So were you obliged to send your boy or girl to school while you knew that there was a threat of injection? Another question is, are or were you obliged to keep them in school while mask wearing was being insisted on, social distancing was being insisted on, and injections were being organized, arranged, and carried out? Well, if you're being honest with yourself, the obvious answer is no, you weren't. Let me go through the logic of how this works. The principle that operates in the cosmos is the following: whatever I create, I own. Whatever I own, I control and am responsible for. So let's see how this works for mums and dads of boys and girls. So you created that boy or girl. You therefore own that boy or girl. You have owner's rights and of course owner's responsibilities. If that boy or girl gets harmed in school, either psychologically or medically, whose responsibility is it ultimately? I'll let you ponder that one for just a few seconds. And it's obvious, it's yours. Nothing changes when you register a boy or girl at birth, or you register a boy or girl at school. Nothing changes in terms of responsibility for their health and well-being. It's yours. If you want a legal approach to this, then it would be in equity. You're the beneficial owner of the boy or girl, of the biological property. I make no apologies for using that crude, sterile terminology. But ultimately, every decision, until that boy or girl is old enough to make their own decisions, every key decision is ultimately made either by the mother or father or caregiver, or with the mother or father's silent assent. And we'll cover this idea of silent assent in a moment. So if you are responsible either actively or passively for everything that happens to the boy or girl, why are so many parents looking to blame schools for perceived or actual harms caused to the boys or girls during the pandemic crisis, in inverted commas, and as a result of actions taken by the school? Now, let's take a little time out to look at a situation in which harm was done as a result of forceful or forcible action. If a boy or girl were literally forcibly injected, that would be the crime of battery, and that should be taken up with the police. However, the police are running the same legal presumptions that the school are running, and the police will simply say, well, you knew that injections were taking place, you did nothing about it, injection took place, the boy or girl was forcibly injected, and although that may technically be a legal problem, the police will not have much sympathy, because let's face it, chaos would ensue if the police started investigating teachers for injecting children. So don't expect the police to be on your side, even though they should be. I'm not condoning any actions by the schools or any actions or lack of action by the police at all. I'm not apologizing for the system. But what I'm saying is that we need to apply some common sense here. What they do is they run a presumption. Everything in the system is run on presumption. They presume that if you did not do anything to prevent your boy or girl being injected, that means that you assented to it, not consented to it, but assented to it, which means that you knew about it but did nothing and said nothing. So this is an unfortunate situation. There may be some grey area where parents could say to me, well, yes, I did express my non-consent, but they still went ahead and injected. Well, I'm going to leave that grey area alone for the moment and offer the only remedy that I can offer from my heart, which is the remedy of taking your boy or girl out of school. Now, I'm reiterating myself from previous videos, but really, this crisis has reminded us in no uncertain terms that the only remedy is the practical one. If you don't take your boy or girl out of school, you are running risks. For example, the risk that there'll be another call out, another pandemic call out, this time orchestrated by the WHO. And if the government have signed a treaty with the WHO, then there'll be no alternative but to follow the WHO's mandates. Schools are now rehearsing emergency lockdown so that it won't just be injections, it will be captivity, actual captivity. Do you really want your boy or girl to suffer this? Of course you don't. So to prevent this happening, we're going to be applying the legal right, and it still is a legal right, to keep our boy or girl at home, to deregister. If you want to know more about this, there is an entire book written about it, which I've mentioned. It's a book that I actually happen to have written. There are other books. There's one by John Taylor Gatto, Get Your Boys Out of School Now. No, Get Your Kids Out of School Now, because he was an American, now deceased, but his book is highly inspirational. So there's no excuse. We now know enough. When John Taylor Gatto was writing and when I was writing my book, we were second guessing what to happen intuitively. But now we know what happens in schools and we know that it is harmful. So why would you keep your boy and girl in school knowing that harm is being committed? Now you may say, well, I can't afford to take my boy or girl out of school. I don't have the time, etc., etc. Well, I'm now going to take a very hard line. Make the time. Make it possible. It may not be immediate, but it has to be very, very soon. Make it possible. There are home educating hubs sprouting up all over the country. The template is being created in Battle near Hastings, which is the Hope Network, and there'll be a link to their website in the description box. They are setting a template using retired former teachers, well-meaning parents, and people with skills, and the boys or girls can now, in a very playful, compassionate environment, not only learn some of the things that they may have learned at school, but probably very badly because they were taught in a very regimented boot camp style. They can now learn the skills, the maths, the English, the science skills that they would have learned at school, plus agriculture, sports, dancing, all kinds of things that can be learned in a much more relaxed environment. I think in the last 2 or 3 years, the number of boys and girls being educated, I would think must have doubled. So it can't be far off 500,000 now. I know in the United States, it's 30 million. And when it was 3 or 4 years ago, barely 2 or 3 million. So there's a massive exodus from the schooling system. There's nothing else I can say really, apart from do your due diligence. Know that a simple letter of deregistration is all it takes. Privacy notice on your front door, lots of confidence. And the more people do this, the easier it will be for everybody else to simply step out of the schooling system. Please don't let it be an excuse that you don't know how to teach. You don't need to teach. Children are now being born that do not require teaching. They simply require facilitating, breathing space. That's all they require, is just breathing space so that they can thrive. They are born to thrive, and the schooling system will stifle them into oblivion. And it's now our duty to provide alternative environments so that that will become possible. And just as a reminder, Section 7 of the Education Act 1996 gives you that route out, and it is explored in other videos. The only problem is, theoretically, is if they make homeschooling illegal. Well, we've already covered that in another video, but just to sum that situation up, they cannot make home education unlawful because it's one of our natural universal rights that we're born with, which is the right to family life and privacy. And within that privacy and family life, the education process, the natural education process, takes place. Once again, thank you very much for listening. There'll be many more videos coming soon because we are at end times and we need to gather our thoughts and make them coherent and help bring in this amazing future. Please share this video, like and subscribe to the People's Lawyer channel on YouTube. That's the People's Lawyer UK, the People's Lawyer website at thepeopleslawyeruk.com, and on Telegram and wherever else you find us. Thank you once again. Bye for now.